Hi, friends. It's been a while, huh? It's Lindsay, Frugal Crafter. I started a podcast a couple months ago, and then where the heck did I go? Oh, guys. Today we're going to talk about burnout because it's something I have gone through a few times, and I think probably most creative people suffer from it. In fact, I think most people in general suffer from it, no matter what your career or job is. We just get it sometimes. And when I started this podcast, I was kind of in a mental place where I was feeling kind of anxious. I didn't feel like what I was doing was enough. And I just wanted to kind of scratch that itch of doing something new, having something take off, having something successful. And I saw the option to add podcasts to my blog, and I just kind of clicked the button to see what happened. And I recorded two podcasts. I was kind of gung ho for those two podcasts, and then I just kind of I got distracted, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, that was why I started it. And I thought, this would actually be a really good topic to put on a podcast. Surprisingly, some people have listened to it. So I'm shocked. I'm surprised, but I'm very pleased. So if you are, obviously, if you're listening to me, you're listening to me. So if you're out there, I would just want to say hello. And if you're suffering from burnout or creative block, I'm here for you, and you are not alone in the struggle. So I've realized there's a few different triggers for my creative block and my burnout, and they seem to be cyclical, and I don't seem to recognize them when they are happening. So I'm hoping by putting this out there, by recording it, maybe I can help you cut burnout off at the pass. And maybe I can remember some of this stuff myself the next time burnout comes to rear its ugly head. So the thing that tends to really kickstart my burnout, or kind of be the warning signs that something's coming, is this kind of restless feeling. And it's this feeling that I'm not working hard enough. I'm not doing enough. I might be exhausted, but I feel like I'm not getting the results that I want. So rather than just pause and take a step back and look at everything, I just start grinding harder. I start a podcast. I start a new video series. I try to make more projects. I try to squeeze more hours out of my day. And that's probably about the opposite thing you should do when you're facing a burnout. And so that's what I did. And I crashed. I crashed pretty hard. Luckily, I had a bunch of things pre-recorded, so I was able to dole them out on my YouTube channel and my blog and not really miss too much of a beat. But I was hitting the ground pretty hard. I take on a lot of challenges because I'm looking for that spark. I'm looking to find that feeling of success again. And um, and I just keep piling it on and piling it on and piling it on without setting anything down. And if you think about that, like you're going to the store and you're shopping and you don't want to bother getting a basket, you just want to zip through and get what you need and get out. And so you start picking stuff up, and then before you know it, your arms are completely full, and you can't even get your wallet out of your pocket to pay because your arms are so full. And that's kind of like what burnout is. You keep picking it up and adding it to the pile, adding it to the pile, and adding it to the pile, and then your arms are so full with all the stuff that you're doing that you don't know how to finish any of it. You don't know how to put anything down, and you get to the point where you've got so much in your arms that you don't even have a free hand to put anything down. So if you start to feel that restless anxiety, you're not doing enough. Maybe you've been comparing yourselves to the people you follow on social media. And keep in mind, you're probably following more than one person, right? So you're looking at all these accomplishments that other people are doing, and you're thinking, well, I should be doing all of that. Well, you're not 500 people. You're not those 200 people that you follow on social media. You are one person. If you take any of those single people that you follow, you'll probably find that your accomplishments are very similar to theirs, and the amount of hours you work very similar to theirs. So because it's very easy to lose your perspective, and I've been there, and I just want to say that out loud so anybody listening to this can take a breath. I mean, even if you're a parent and you are comparing yourself to other parents on social media, you're going to see all the things that they're doing with their kids, and you're going to feel anxious and inadequate. But you're not comparing yourself to one parent or one family. You're comparing yourself to all the parents and families you know. And it's just unrealistic to think that you're going to be doing everything that everybody else is doing in addition, not just one thing. You probably have a very similar life to any of the one people that you follow. But when you compound it and you add them all together, it just can make you feel like you're not doing enough. And it's the same thing with art. So think of that. Think of that. Think of that. These are not one person. These are lots of people you're following. So try not to compare. Comparison's the thief of joy. That's the saying, right? And it really is. And it has dragged me down some pretty unpleasant rabbit holes before. So I don't want that to happen to you. Another cause of burnout is when you're not doing what you actually like. A lot of times we don't actually do the things we like. We do things we think we ought to like. We do things we think we should like. And oftentimes we actually think we like these things. But when you actually take a break from it, you may realize that you don't like everything you've been doing. So if you're a multi-crafter, a multi-artist like I am, I enjoy lots of different projects. I enjoy lots of different art medias. A lot of times I just want to try something too because I'm curious. I'm a very curious person. I love to try out new products. I like to see how they work with stuff that I already have. And sometimes they're not for me. Some crafts are not for me. Some books are not for me. And it's okay to objectively look at that one thing and say, yeah, I spent money on it. It was kind of expensive. Other people like it, but it's just not for me. Now, one of these things that a lot of people like, and I see a lot of people do beautiful projects with, but I have realized, and it's taken me a long time to realize this, I don't like physical die cutting. I don't like putting metal dies through a machine, cranking them through, especially intricate ones. It's not something I enjoy. Now, sometimes I use dies fairly frequently. They're a tool, and I use them in my projects. But often, if I'm making cards, what's going to make me irritated, it's cutting dies. And it's usually cutting really fussy, intricate dies. Some people love it. A lot of people love that. They love the look of it. They love the fussiness of it. They love the intricate details. But for me, that's just not something I enjoy. So why would I go out and spend $25 on a really intricate die if I'm not going to enjoy working with it? Even if it's beautiful, realize that you can appreciate somebody else's work that uses a product that you don't really like. You can still appreciate their work even if you don't like to do it yourself. So give yourself a break. Don't force yourself to repeat a mistake. Maybe it was a mistake to buy that $20 doily die. Speaking from experience, I have a very beautiful $20 doily die in my stash that I can't part with because it was $20 and it's very beautiful, but it's such a pain to cut. I have bought special plates to cut this darn thing out, and it is such an aggravation that whenever I do cut them out, I use every single scrap, every single piece of that doily because it's such a pain in the butt to cut out. I don't like it, but it's such a beautiful design that I do keep it. But you don't have to keep paying for that mistake. If you bought something and you realize it's just not for you and you've given it a fair shot and you've maybe watched other people's reviews and tutorials of it, just make sure that you've tried everything you can try with it. It's okay to let it go. It's okay to be done with that. It's putting the thing down. It's not carrying the things that don't suit you. If I have my arms full of intricate cutting dies, I can't pick up the watercolor crayons that I want to try. I can't pick up the new oil paints I want to try. I can't pick up my old favorite colored pencils that I want to try because my arms are full of intricate dies that I don't like. You know what I mean? You've got to put some stuff down too. And it's so hard. It's so hard because we are told constantly that more is better. You got to do more. You got to do more. You got to hustle more. You got to produce more. You got to try this. You got to try that. But a lot of these messages we're getting are not from people with our best interests at heart. A lot of these messages are coming from people trying to sell us the beautiful dyes and sell us the materials. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you make a mistake by buying something that doesn't suit you, don't keep making the mistake by forcing yourself to use it over and over and over again, or to use it more, or to add to it if it's just not bringing you joy, because that's gonna burn you out. And I think I know a lot of different people listen to the podcast. A lot of people watch my YouTube videos. Many are crafters, many are artists. Some people are professional or kind of in that gray area between, they're working like in the craft industry, but it's not like their full-time job. They're kind of like kind of in that middle ground. And they feel like they have to use every brand new thing that comes along. Otherwise, they won't succeed. They won't be able to get on the design team they want, or get the sponsorships they want, or work with the brands that they want to work with. But you got to also decide, if I don't like this product, why would I want to work with this brand? Why would I want to be on a design team, which is basically working for product? If I don't like it, why am I doing it? I think with any sort of creative profession, now the pay can be good at higher levels, but with any creative profession, I do not think it's worthwhile doing if you don't love it, because the money is never going to be enough to sustain you, especially in something that is very lucrative, very competitive, and very fickle and very luck dependent, such as the arts or even social media, anything like that. I feel like I'm going on a tangent, but that's okay, because I'm sure if you subscribe to this podcast, you're probably used to somebody going on a tangent. So that was something I was dealing with. I didn't even know what I liked anymore. And that was a burnout from about 3 years ago. I remember talking to a friend of mine online, and I'm like, I don't even know what I like anymore. I don't know if I like stamping. I don't know if I like card making. I've been doing it for so long that it's a habit, that I don't even know if I like it. So make sure that what you're doing isn't a habit, it's actually a passion. And it can be difficult when you get in a routine to determine what's a habit and what's a passion. I'm sure a lot of people that smoke don't really like the fact that they smoke. They would love to stop smoking, but it's such a strong habit that kicking it is difficult. And it can be the same thing with art. It can be the same thing with social media. It can be the same thing with crafting. Um, and it can be, it can almost mean you need to take a break away from some of these things to determine what you really want and what you really like doing. And sometimes media will just click with you, but often you need to have some headspace. You need to have some mental bandwidth freed up to be able to just relax and play with your supplies um, with no ulterior motive, with no expected result, to see if you really like something. And that's something I hadn't given myself the time to do very much, because I kind of jump from project to project to project because it's my livelihood. Come January, or last January, I told myself, this was actually December, because that was another mini burnout back in December. So, because I make my living teaching classes online, but also doing YouTube, and the ad revenue on my YouTube videos, and as well the revenue from sponsored videos, um, that pays the bills. And so the fall is extremely busy. People want to get all their products out. They want tutorials with their products so people can have them top of mind when, holiday shopping comes around or back to school shopping comes around. They want to get all their advertisement also spent before the end of the year. So I and other YouTubers, other social media practitioners, other artists online, get a lot of work and at the fourth quarter of the year. And so you're using a lot of products that you otherwise may not even have heard of, a lot of new things, and you're just pumping out the content. And it's fun to try all these different things, but your motivation for using these things are because you're hired from these companies that produce them, and there's nothing wrong with that. But after a couple months of that, you can really start to question what you really want to use, because your brain is just so packed with information from all these new products that it can be hard just to kind of sit down, stop, take a breath, and realize what you actually want to create for fun. Because when January rolls around, you generally have more time in your schedule to work on the projects that you want to work on. Like maybe you want to develop a new class, maybe you want to do some projects just for yourself. And in December, I was really burnt out. I was really stressed out. And I said, if I can help it, I'm not going to take sponsored videos starting in January, at least for a few months, and see if my work improves, see if I get a new burst of creativity, to see if I get some new ideas. And things were going really well, actually. I didn't take on any new sponsorships. I turned down people that contacted me. And it was going really well, and my views and my numbers were going up on my YouTube channel. So I thought, well, this is great. I'm being authentic. I'm doing what I want to do, and my numbers are going up. So I was so thrilled. I was so happy, and I was like, okay, this is it. I found my calling. I'm finally doing something right. Because with a channel that's as old as mine, my YouTube channel is about 11 years old. Once you hit about year 7, I've seen this on a lot of channels, you start to plateau and then you start to decline. It's just people lose interest. People go for the newer and shinier channels. Also, trends change, delivery trends change, what people like to see on YouTube changes. People get used to certain editing styles, and then something new comes up, and then they're used to that and they prefer that. So, it's like if you watch a sitcom from the 70s and you watch a sitcom from today, they're going to look different because delivery changes, and it changes so fast on YouTube. And my delivery is relatively consistent, from maybe not from when I first started, because I sounded pretty shy when I first started, but pretty similar. And people just get bored. And that's fine. But you don't like to. But just thinking people are bored with your content, that's such an awful feeling to have when you're putting yourself out there. But I'm not here to whine and pity party or anything. But it's just how it is. So my numbers were going up, and I was feeling really positive about that. But what I hadn't realized was that during that time, I had a dentist appointment in town. So I decided while I was in town, I was going to stop at every Dollar Tree there was and see if any of those new craft products had come in that I'd seen some people use online. So I'm like, oh, that would be a fun thing to do, to go around and see what we can find at Dollar Trees and maybe do some Dollar Tree tutorials. That would be kind of inspiring for folks on a budget. And there's Dollar Trees in every town in America, it seems like. So I thought that would be fun. And so I did that. I went to 4 Dollar Trees and I found some really great stuff. And I did a YouTube short. It was just a really quick haul of them. I did a haul on my Sat Chat about them. And the numbers on those were fantastic. And I did a couple tutorials, and one tutorial did really, really well. And the other ones did okay. And then it just kind of like, flattened out. Nobody was interested anymore. So I was overall seeing the numbers in my YouTube channel be really, really great. And then I was just starting to see them slowly tick down and tick down and tick down and tick down. And I am somebody who, if my, and all this time I'm creating other content, creating other tutorials along with it, I'm still keeping up the same pace of content, but my numbers, I'm just seeing them drop, 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 drop. And that really fed this latest burnout, because I was like, I don't know what to do. The more I do, the worse it's looking. What am I doing wrong? And I forget that I had a little bit of a hit with the, with the Dollar Tree stuff. And now the Dollar Tree stuff is, obviously I've shown it and it's all done. Those videos are starting to be pushed back, and in my analytics that, my numbers aren't going to be as high. But still, on the forefront, my first gut reaction when I see that is nobody wants to watch my stuff anymore. I'm irrelevant and my work isn't worth watching, and I just get that kind of downward spiral. So if you're feeling that, if you have had, if you're not getting the results that you want because you are focusing on the numbers too much on social media, just try to step back and look at them objectively. Also, summertime, guys, if you are somebody that's online on YouTube or mostly YouTube, I don't really spend much time on the other platforms, but if you see that your numbers start to go down in the summer, it's because if you have an audience that's mostly adult women, you are going to have lower views in the summer, and you're going to have lower views around any of the school breaks, basically, because adult women are generally looking after their children, their grandchildren, sometimes spending time with their parents or going on vacations at those times. So the times that are really good for channels that cater to children and teens, those times tend to be really, really bad for people for channels that cater to adult women. So I don't know about channels that cater to adult men, because my audience is like 85% adult women, but that's also a reasonable explanation. And a lot of times, avoiding burnout or cutting it off at the pass before you downward spiral into a sea of doom and gloom is to step back and look at it objectively instead of, being in your head about it. And another, I think a good way to avoid burnout when you start to feel it creeping on is to do something different. Go take a drive, go somewhere else. If you want to take your paints along, maybe go paint somewhere new, go sit outside and paint, or maybe just bring a book, spend time with friends, try to get out and do something different so you're not just obsessed with work and obsessed with things you can't control. Because anything like analytics, anything like numbers, you can control the content you put out there, but you can't control whether it's going to be popular or not. That's just kind of out of your hands. You can do your best, but at the end of the day, there's only so much that you can do. And I think accepting that, I think if we all could accept that, I think if I could accept that, I would be a lot happier. I can't accept it all the time. Honestly, I have a really hard time with that, because I just feel like that the work should equal the output, that the input should equal the output. And it's not always the case. It's not the case online in analytics, but it can be the case in your personal work. Like when you are painting, obviously the more you study, the more you practice, the more you paint, the better you're going to get. So that's something where you can get a reasonable outcome. Even though I said that, you can still hit plateaus. Everybody hits art plateaus. You'll get to a point where, like when you're a beginner, you're learning so much and you're growing so fast, and it seems like you are having creative epiphanies every leaps and bounds all the time. So then when you start to get into that intermediate level of being an artist, you don't have those big jumps ahead. You don't have those big growth spurts. You don't learn something new all the time as frequently as you did when you were a beginner. And also, as you get into that intermediate level, you realize how much you don't know. When you're a beginner, you don't know what you don't know. So, it's so fun. You think, oh, I'm going to master this in no time. But as you get to become an intermediate artist, you realize, oh, now I know what I don't know. Now you see all the other things that are so far in the distance that it can be a little discouraging, especially if you're not getting those quick wins like you were as a beginner. You're not growing by leaps and bounds all the time. So you got to slog through that plateau, and then you will level up. But it does take longer. The longer you do it, it takes you longer to reach the next level. It's kind of like each level gets harder, like in a video game, I guess. I don't play video games, but I assume every level that you step up, it gets harder. Just like grades in school, every grade is going to be harder than the previous grade. And it can be a challenge. It can be a challenge of your interest. It can be a challenge of your stamina. You might realize that, well, this isn't fun anymore, and I don't actually really like it, and it's okay. It's okay if you decide to stop doing a particular medium or a particular craft because you're not interested in it anymore, or the juice is not worth the squeeze. That's something that when I'm talking to my friends that are also YouTubers, we talk about the juice being worth the squeeze, and it might be like starting a Facebook group, or it might be a particular type of video, and it's just like, yeah, the juice is not worth the squeeze. I'm putting like 40 hours into this and it's yielding no result or very little result, where I could put 10 hours into this and get identical results. So just kind of think about that. Don't say, well, I've already invested this much time in it, I got to keep doing it, if you don't enjoy it. No, I'm not saying give up if something isn't fun for a little while, because there's going to be points in any sort of thing you're trying to learn that's not going to be fun. Occasionally you're going to have to work through it, but if you just feel like you're getting deeper and deeper into burnout, it's probably time to choose a different path. It might be a different media, or it might be just be taking a break from art altogether and then coming back to it with renewed energy, because just working harder and working harder, you will grind yourself into the ground eventually. Trust me, I know. And let's see, what other advice might I share? Now, something that I enjoy and it could be just because I'm always trying to avoid burnout, is I switch gears a lot. So and I get very restless, and and I have this energy I want to burn off. And a lot of times I want to be creative, but I'm just hitting the wall with whatever I'm working on. I switch gears and I try a different media. And I will say, you will get faster at switching media the more you do it. So you may begin as a watercolorist, and then you might add in color pencils, and you might add in gouache, and you might add in acrylics, and you might add in collage. Each time you add in something new, you learn a little bit faster. So that's another way for you to kind of switch gears, work within a different media for a while, get a few of those quick wins of those, things you never knew. You learn a few new tricks. And then when you go back to your original media, you feel renewed because you feel like you've accomplished something, or you've got that little dopamine hit basically from trying something new in a different media. So I guess that would be my final advice on avoiding burnout and keeping your interest alive in whatever art and craft you choose to explore, and you choose to try. I like a lot of things. Some things I don't like, and it's okay not to like a certain creative endeavor, even if you spent money on it and you bought the supplies. Don't feel like you have to always do them. If somebody gives you a box of knitting supplies and you realize that knitting is not your thing, it's okay to pass the box along to somebody else. You don't have to possess that forever. It doesn't have to be a lifetime passion of yours. It's okay to try new things and to let go of things that aren't your cup of tea. Okay, I don't know if this helped anybody. I kind of think it helped me, though, just getting it all out there, because maybe I'll play this back the next time I am staring down the barrel of a burnout. I appreciate you listening. I know I talk kind of fast, and I'm a little rusty because it's been a while since I've recorded one of these. But in any event, thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a wonderful day. Until next time, happy crafting.